Right. My goodness. All the difficulties in the world. Okay. So if you can hear me, and if you can't hear me right now, I'm going to type a message. Okay, now we hear me. Good. All right, awesome. Well, I'm going to get started then because I'm 13 minutes late here and I don't like to be late. But so thanks everybody for hanging on here with me that were able to. There's no way to test, unfortunately, for a live session for people to be able to be on here like this. So we're just going to get going here and get ripping. Some people are able, apparently, to ask questions. Some are not. So if you're getting questions while you're going through this, you can email me and I will try to hit those towards the end, or Facebook message me as well, though that might be a little bit more challenging because that requires a lot more open windows. So we're going to be talking about heart health here, of course, and how that really it's the number one cause of death in the United States. And so big topic, and it's one that can kind of be overlooked. For me, people fear cancer like crazy, and as we should, but we kind of gloss over heart disease, even though it's the number one cause of death. So quick reminder here as we're getting started, we have a huge weight loss seminar and healthy living seminar coming up in just a couple weeks from now on March 25th from 9 to 11. So if you are not registered for that yet, I want to make sure you do get registered for that, because it's going to be a life-transforming event. Even if you don't want to lose weight, you're going to learn something that's going to take you to the next level. I don't need to lose weight, but the principles that I'm going to be teaching have really revolutionized and taken my health to the next level. So I'm excited to share all that with you. Okay. So as I stated, number one cause of death in the world is heart disease, or more specifically known as cardiovascular disease. And in with that, you're getting heart attacks and strokes are going to be the main ones within that category. So heart disease is really just a general term used to describe several different conditions like stroke, high blood pressure, heart disease, heart attack, things like that, congestive heart failure, arrhythmias, etc. So currently, 670,000 people die of heart disease in the United States every single year, which is about 1 out of 3 people, which is insane. It is the leading cause of death for both men and women. And you can see coronary heart disease is the most common type, which kills just under 400,000 people. So every year, almost 750,000 Americans have a heart attack, and 500,000 of them, it's their first time, all right? And then another chunk of them already have it's their second one or third or beyond. And you can see that the cost alone for coronary heart disease is almost $109 billion. And in the next 10 years, they're going to expect it to go up over $1 trillion, which is going to utterly just cripple the heck out of our economy, because it's just, who's going to pay for it, Unfortunately, the healthy people that aren't using it and paying their, dedicated insurance premiums every single month are going to be the ones paying for it, which is why our premiums continue to skyrocket despite promises on any administration. This total, you're looking at also lost productivity, so people losing out on work. Now, I posted this on Facebook, and to me, this blows my mind in the fact that 25% of children, so think about 5 years and older, so in elementary school, starting in kindergarten, already have plaque building up in their arteries, which leads to heart disease. 60% of teenagers have plaque building up in their arteries, so almost 2 out of 3. And then recent research suggests as many as 1 out of 3 children have or are at risk for high cholesterol, which, which medicine views as a current risk factor for heart disease. Of course, we know. I'm going to blast that tonight here. So here's the myth. Heart disease is normal with aging. And the truth is, though, is that heart disease is common in the United States, but it is absolutely not normal. it is preventable. Many scientists and doctors call heart disease a disease for dummies. And if you know those books, Diseases for Dummies, then it's kind of like it's actually a really simple problem to fix. And of course, prevention is going to be the main way to do that. So despite what you hear in the news or what you hear from pharmaceutical companies, every single year, and this is a graph from 1997 to 2001, you can see that coronary heart disease, stroke, heart disease or stroke, or other heart disease has pretty much all gone up significantly, the number of people dying over just the last, about 20 years now. Now, when we go, I'm going to actually throw in a little bit of chiropractic philosophy here. And really, this philosophy has been proven by 21st century science, and the fact that the body has an innate intelligence inside of it, meaning that there is a force inside of it running and governing and controlling every single process at every single second of every single day, and doing the right thing at the right time based on what the internal environment is and what the external environment is telling it. So these forces, and this is key here, never injure or destroy the structures in which they work, meaning the human body will never intentionally harm itself for any reason. Okay, it doesn't make sense from either an evolutionary or a creation standpoint. Okay, depending on what you believe or both, doesn't matter. It is never going to intentionally injure or destroy itself. So every single symptom or disease or problem in the body is the body doing its absolute best to cope and manage the situation with what it's been given. Easy example is a fever, all right? A fever, we know, is the body not intentionally injuring or destroying itself. In fact, it is the exact opposite. It is speeding up the healing process. Another couple examples I'm going to go over here tonight will be things like high blood pressure and how that's actually a normal response for the internal environment. Another example is the same thing is going to be cholesterol. So having high cholesterol is a normal, healthy response, a natural response to when the host itself is damaging, is doing self-inflicting damage. So here are going to be the things that we're going to cover here tonight. We're going to be talking about the true cause of heart disease, the importance of having proper vitamin D levels for your heart health, actually, the high cholesterol myth, or what I would more accurately call the lie, how to improve your blood pressure, the absolute need for CoQ10, and then what are the best tests, both medically and non-medically, to run to know how well your heart is functioning. So the true cause of heart disease, we're going to get right into this here, is 100% inflammation. And, 30 years ago, of course, I wasn't teaching this stuff back then, but I have mentors that were, they were teaching this stuff. I got a hold of their old videos. They're talking about inflammation and the foods that we eat, and, having these packaged and processed foods are damaging and killing us. Back in the 80s, this was kind of definitely taboo, but now we know it's absolutely true that this is really the cause of many, many, many deaths. In fact, almost every single disease can be linked to having a primary cause of inflammation. So if you see it on the top picture here, this is what a normal artery would look like. So you can think of it just like a hose, all right? Blood's passing through that. Here's a cross section, okay? Now, when there is inflammation, there's going to be scarring and there's going to be swelling. Think about spraining an ankle. It swells up. That's inflammation. That's a normal response. So to counteract the inflammation, you get the swelling, okay? So now you see the space for which the blood to pass through is, of course, going to be constricted and narrowed, okay? And as that builds up over time, then you get total occlusion. And then you get what would be an aneurysm, or basically an explosion, all right, of that artery. And then we're looking at a stroke or a heart attack or whatever the case may be, okay? So whenever damage occurs in the lining of the arteries, chemicals are released to initiate the process of inflammation. So thinking about eating bad foods, toxins, all right, sugars, grains, we'll cover some of the things that cause that. So ultimately, these scars form, and inside of our arteries, we call that plaque. Okay, so you've heard of plaquing. And the constriction of our arteries and the thickening of our blood further predisposes us to high blood pressure, all right, and even heart attacks itself. So here's the main takeaway, blah, blah, blah. Inflammation is the absolute true cause of heart disease. So in response to inflammation, cholesterol will increase, okay? And like I said, inflammation is caused by drugs, medications, sugar, grains, toxicity, and many other things. Stress can do it, mental, emotional, even nerve related, like is in the case of pressure damage on the nerves coming out of your spine, can also affect that. So aspirin, ibuprofen, and Tylenol all have well-known association with increased cardiac mortality, or AKA death. Statin drugs, okay, so it is the height of irony that the very category of drugs promoted to millions globally as a standard for care are actually cardiotoxic, meaning toxic to the heart and the cardiovascular system, and linked to no less than 300 adverse health effects or side effects. Wheat also is profoundly cardiotoxic with over 200 documented adverse health effects. And of course, as when the countries that eat the very most amount of bread and grains and wheat also have the highest rate of cardiovascular disease and heart-related deaths. No surprise. So again, stress causes inflammation, sugar big time, processed foods big time, artificial sweeteners, not moving your body, smoking, okay, chronic overconsumption of carbohydrates, toxins that are in the environment and internally, damaging your spine, subluxation, sitting too much, and also blood sugar imbalance, which is why people that have diabetes are actually more likely to die of heart disease than they are to actually die of diabetes, or it's an effect of having diabetes, okay? So sugar causes an increase in blood sugar, okay? Everybody knows that. Grains and refined carbohydrates are also going to turn to sugar within seconds of hitting your tongue, okay? So when your body is exposed to the sugar, it is going to secrete cortisol and mainly insulin to decrease your blood sugar. And chronic high levels of cortisol and insulin contribute to an increase in something called an enzyme PLA2, which increases inflammation, which causes 90%, they found this in 90% of all diseases, particularly heart disease. 90%, okay? Cortisol and insulin, sugars and grains. And inflammation building up causes damage to the cell wall of the arteries, like I showed you before in that picture, leading to plaque buildup. So now here's where cholesterol comes into play. So, you've all heard cholesterol. Well, let's actually break down what cholesterol is, because if you can understand what it is, where it comes from, and how it's used in the body, you can realize it's not your enemy. It's absolutely actually your friend, and you need cholesterol to be healthy. So it is a soft, waxy substance that is made by your liver. And here's the key thing. 80% of cholesterol in your blood right now is being made by your body. 80%. It doesn't come from what you eat, or I should say very little, okay? So, eggs have whatever X amount of 100 milligrams of cholesterol, so I can't eat that because it's going to raise my cholesterol. It only has a factor of being able to raise it, theoretically 20%, but it's not even that. And it travels in your blood in two main compounds, although there's actually 5, okay? So just knowing that there's 5, and of course, when you get a test by your doctor and they only test 2, of course, you're not even looking at the whole picture. Although LDL and HDL are the 2 most prevalent, okay? Cholesterol is needed to manufacture hormones, bile acid, okay, that breaks down fat in your body, and also vitamin D, okay? So low levels of cholesterol, low levels of vitamin D. You also cannot make estrogen, testosterone, cortisone, and Every single hormone in your body needs cholesterol as a precursor, all right, in order to be able to make those hormones. So if you are avoiding cholesterol or you are crushing your cholesterol down with a pharmaceutical like Lipitor or Zetia or Wellcor or whatever it is, you are absolutely destroying your hormones and your hormone potential as time goes on. And God forbid, or just it's a shame that they're putting even kids on these now. Now, the two main ones here, HDL and LDL, these are the main functions. Now, traditionally, people think of HDLs, or we hear this all the time, oh, that's the good cholesterol, and LDL is the bad cholesterol. Here's the flaw in that thinking. That is presuming, again, going back to the beginning, that your body is making something that wants to kill you, okay? If LDL is the bad cholesterol, all right, that is making something to kill you. Well, how does that make any sense? Again, going back to from a creation standpoint, God made our bodies perfect. And an evolutionary standpoint, well, if a species is self-destructive, it is not going to make it very long, over the course of time. You see what I'm saying, guys? So to label LDL as the bad cholesterol, you're basically saying, your body, you're stupid and you're trying to kill me and you hate me. In reality, LDL cholesterol is vital in building muscle and burning fat. So, okay, well, fine. If you don't want to burn fat, well, then by all means, please just, lower your cholesterol, okay? As well as repairing damage from inflammation, all right, in your body. So when you get that process, right, that's what you're showing. It does seal that up. But if you think about it, if your arteries here are becoming so damaged that they're beginning to crack, okay, and I'm speaking very non-scientifically specifically here, more conceptually, if the arteries are deteriorating and they're breaking down, would you not want something to come through your body and patch that up as quickly as possible so you literally don't bleed out and bleed to death? That's what would happen, right? If cholesterol did not patch and protect you from that. Now, HDL, again, going to the good cholesterol, if we're somehow differentiating that your body makes something good and something bad, it just, again, doesn't make sense, does help to clean the arteries and make hormones, okay? So, yes, we do want to have high levels of HDL in your body, but having high levels of LDL is your body doing the right thing at the right time at the right reason. So we'll talk about that a little bit more here as we go on, but just keep in mind that if you have high cholesterol right now, it is your body's natural, normal response and doing the right thing based on what you're doing to it. So this drug has not proven to prevent heart disease, heart attack, or strokes. So for those of you that can type, I would love for you to go ahead and type in the chat box what you think this drug is. It's actually on the label, on the package insert for this drug. I'd like for you to guess what drug this is for. This drug has not been proven to prevent heart disease, heart attack, or strokes. Who's got a guess? All right, you might not. Troy says Lipitor. Jeffrey says Lipitor. You folks would be correct. Here was a recent advertisement for Lipitor in a magazine, all right? So, of course, you have the fat person with high cholesterol, or excuse me, you have the skinny person, they have the same cholesterol, right? Blowing up in this section right here. So you can see it's a prescription drug used with diet to lower cholesterol. It's not for everyone. Lipitor has not been shown to prevent heart disease or heart attacks. Now, when you go into your doctor or someone you love or someone you know goes in and they are told they have high cholesterol, they are given that prescription by the doctor, and what are they told? We are giving this for you not just merely to lower your cholesterol, but we are giving this to you because high cholesterol increases your risk of heart disease or heart attacks, okay? So then you see here, well, but the drug really has not been shown or proven to prevent heart disease or strokes, and that is their own admission. It's literally in the advertising in the magazine. Clearly your doctor has not read the package of drug inserts. And unfortunately, when they're being educated solely by the pharmaceutical companies, then as if the pharmaceutical companies want doctors to know this information. It's just the reality, guys. This is just what it is, okay? It's a big scam and a big lie. So again, going back to bad cholesterol, there's no such thing. If your body makes it, how could it be bad? So the problem with cholesterol, and again, if your doctor cannot explain this to you but wants to put you on a statin, you need to fire your stinking doctor because they have no clue on, first of all, anything that has to do with health or heart health specifically. And other than that, they have no idea. Now, if they can explain it to you logically, then maybe they're a little bit with it. But if they're prescribing you the drug in the first place, well, then they're clearly not all that with it anyways. The key here, though, is that it is the oxidation of cholesterol. So think of cholesterol kind of like a gun, right? If you find a gun at a murder scene, it's not necessarily the cause of death unless that gun has been fired, okay? Unless it's been activated, unless the trigger has been pulled. So cholesterol by itself is completely 100% innocent. However, if cholesterol is oxidized, then that's when it begins to cause atherosclerosis and cause problems, okay? And what oxidizes cholesterol? Sugar, grains, bad fats, toxins, sitting too much, all the things that cause inflammation. Oxidation is inflammation, okay? So check this out. You're twice as likely to have a heart attack with low cholesterol than if you have high cholesterol. And that's according to the Yale Department of Cardiovascular Medicine. Double, all right, having low cholesterol. There's a higher death rate with low cholesterol than high. That's according to Lancet. Remember, these are medical institutions talking about this. Statin drugs lower cholesterol, but they do not decrease the cause of death of heart attack or stroke. So listen, the drugs work. They're going to lower your cholesterol. And the last truth is that statin drugs are by far and away the most profitable class of drugs ever. So the amount of, quote, research here, right, and marketing is heavily directed into absolutely brainwashing you and your doctor. So just keep in mind, cholesterol is the body's repair substance. When an inflammation occurs, the liver will produce more cholesterol to repair damage in the body. So if you have high cholesterol right now, it is not what you're eating. Well, maybe, but it's not necessarily because you're eating too much cholesterol. All right. In fact, the majority of the healthy saturated animal fats are going to be extremely high in cholesterol. That's not what's raising your cholesterol. It's what is happening on the inside of your body. It's a warning sign. Now, here is a graph plotted by the World Health Organization for cause of number of deaths here on the left-hand side, and then the total cholesterol level on the bottom. Look at this. So other than a few outliers here at the top, as cholesterol goes higher, death rate goes down. Let me say that again. As the average cholesterol goes higher in the population, and this is for men only, but that's what they studied, you look at the number of deaths go down. I should say that a third time. The higher the cholesterol, the more the deaths go down, all right? It's almost like too comical to even say that many times, but it goes against everything that your doctor tells you, but they literally aren't even reading the freaking research, okay? So cholesterol medication not only will lower your cholesterol, but it also will absolutely cause liver damage. It increases your risk of neuropathy, joint pain, and ligament rupture because they're made out of collagen, and collagen requires some cholesterol. Muscle wasting and atrophy, okay? It's called rhabdomyolysis, okay? Muscle wasting, it just means that like people that take statin medications just ache and are in pain all the time, especially if they've been taking it for a long time. It increases your risk of diabetes. I've seen some studies as saying it increases your risk of diabetes as high as 44%. Heart failure, yes, your heart's a muscle, so if it's causing muscle wasting, all right, heart's a muscle. It is increases your risk of cancer. It increases your risk of depression, and also stops CoQ10 production. All right, which is one of the most vital nutrients for the heart, and that's why it causes people to die, and that also leads to heart failure here. Now, they found in this study, this was done by Hull, this is in the UK, when they looked at over 100 patients with heart problems who started taking statins or cholesterol-lowering drugs, they found that every point of decrease of their cholesterol, there was a 36% increased risk of death. That's not a typo. It's not 3.6. It's literally a 36% increased risk of death. So if a person went from 220 down to, let's say, 180, so it's a 40-point drop. They literally increase the risk of death by over 1,200%. Holy crow. So it stops CoQ10. And remember this too, your brain is made up of 60% fat, and the majority of that is cholesterol. So no wonder why we are seeing a ridiculous rise in Alzheimer's and dementia and all these diseases of the brain that we have never seen at a rate before, ever. And yet the number one prescribed drug in America is statin medications. Literally sucking the cholesterol out of your brain, out of your nerve tissue, destroying your nervous system, which is the system that controls everything. And it also blocks serotonin sites, which decreases serotonin, which that leads to depression. So when you have friends that, have depression, one of the first questions you can ask them, especially if they're taking an antidepressant, ask them is, are you taking a statin, or have you ever? And that might be one of the causes as to why they have that. And again, CoQ10 is an antioxidant needed to transfer energy from food to our cells. It reduces inflammation, protects you from cancer and aging, and it's the primary building block for the cells of your brain and your nervous system. So if you have ever been on a statin drug, or are right now, which hopefully after this, I can't legally tell you to stop taking it, but between me, you, and the wall, you should stop taking it. You need to be supplementing CoQ10, okay? But if you've been on it and you're not on it anymore, then you need to be taking CoQ10, because it could take decades, well, maybe not decades, but I would say years for sure of supplementing to replenish your levels back up to where they need to be. So here is a research article, Statin Use in Coronary Artery Plaque Composition. So this is a medical journal from PubMed, and what they found is that statin use is associated with an increased prevalence and extent of coronary plaques possessing calcium. So literally, that's what causes heart disease, is plaquing in your arteries. And they found that when you take statin drugs, this is the Journal of Atherosclerosis. So it's a medical journal only accepting articles regarding the, heart disease and, that process of atherosclerosis. And they found that statin drugs do that. Increased risk of diabetes. Lipitor at a 22% higher risk of diabetes, Crestor 18%, Zocor 10%. Oxford, Reuters, Medscape all published an article in 2011 showing that artificially lowered cholesterol was linked with a 33 to 50% increased risk of all types of cancer. WTF, mate, okay? Low cholesterol, cancer. Is it worth it? Here's the Journal of Oncology, 2008. In conclusion, we feel that there is ample evidence that statins may promote cancer in certain segments of the population. Currently, the indications for statin therapy are based on lipoprotein levels, HDL, LDL, prevalent cardiovascular disease, or other risk factors. Maybe it's time for a new paradigm, all right, that includes blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's time. Well, that was almost 10 years ago now, and those drugs are being prescribed more than ever before. So remember, every symptom is the body doing the right thing at the right time. While cardiologists insist that lowering cholesterol is correlated with a reduction in the risk of heart disease, heart attacks, few can say that there's a reduction in the risk of dying from it. In other words, there's never been conclusively shown that lowering cholesterol saves lives. I've seen 1% as the net effect on lowering your risk of death from cardiovascular disease. But you see the risk of diabetes, the risk of cancer skyrockets, which is going to kill a lot more than that 1%. Now, one of the things you absolutely need to be looking at for value as a standalone value and number is your triglycerides. Now, if you are above 100 with your triglycerides, it is almost certain that your body is in a state of what's called insulin resistance, okay? Diabetics have a tremendously high level of insulin resistance. So if you have triglycerides over 100, so you can pull up your old blood work, then if you're not already a diabetic or not already been told you're a pre-diabetic, you're a pre-diabetic. And that's why you're not losing weight, okay? Now, interestingly enough, oftentimes fruit, for a lot of people, is the reason why the triglycerides are high. Fructose is processed in the body through a different pathway. And if that pathway is impaired or dysfunctional, it will produce more fat, triglycerides, fat transported through the body. And again, you know what that's going to lead to. So I will be talking about at my seminar at the end of the month, okay, this seminar here, how to lower your triglycerides and the processes of how that happens. So again, I'll make sure that you guys all get the link to register for that if you have not already. So triglycerides over 100, insulin resistance. I personally have a personal goal like that, of being under 80. And ideally, I'd like to even be between 50 to 70 for my triglycerides. Otherwise, I know if it's above that or higher, creeping up, I know I've been cheating, and it's a reminder to not cheat. Now, the most important ratio to be looking at, all right, and you can calculate this very easily with your labs, okay, even if you've had them done a little while ago. You can see that the triglyceride to HDL ratio is actually the most important. It's the best predictor of heart disease risk. So what you do is you take your triglycerides, okay, divided by your HDL number, and you're going to get a number, okay? So let's just say, for example, your triglycerides are 150, okay? And let's say that your HDL number is, let's say it's 50, okay? So 150 divided 50 is 3, okay? So you can see that a ratio less than 2 is ideal of that number, all right? So ideally, if you had a triglyceride number of 150, which is not good, but let's say you had a HDL number of 80, that would be, less than 2. That's ideal, all right? Where people get into problems big time, or when we see triglyceride numbers of, let's say, 200 to 220, and their HDL levels are like 40, all right? So then you're looking at your number is going to be well over 5, okay, with that, and that is not good. Okay, my PowerPoint's getting screwy here. Okay, you guys get how to do it. It's very easy to calculate, all right? And again, if that number is off, you are absolutely insulin resistant and you're on your way to diabetes. Your body's rotting from the inside out. Another number that you can look at is your HDL divided by your total cholesterol, okay, and that number should be 0.204 or higher. So again, if you have a cholesterol HDL of 50 and you have a total cholesterol of, let's say, 200, okay, that would be, if my math is correct, that would be 0.25, okay? So that would be a good number. Now, even better would be like if it was like, let's say, 70, all right, over 210, okay, then you're looking at, 0.33, okay, or so, and that's even better, all right? So those are some easy things to calculate right now. You can do it after the webinar, and you'll know that warning bells should be going off for you, and you need help to supplement and really get your nutrition on track if your ratios are off. Here's the proof. There we go. So again, PubMed, Although some lipid variables were associated with the extent of coronary disease, the ratio of triglycerides to HDL cholesterol showed the strongest association with extent. Okay, here's another one. High ratio of triglycerides to HDL cholesterol predicts extensive coronary disease. So there's the research. So cholesterol, game, set, match. Quit freaking taking that stuff, okay? It's killing people. Show people the way, help them get away from it. Be a messenger, and let's freaking change our city and make it healthier. One easy thing is to get everybody off these cholesterol statin drugs that are poisoning their body. Now let's talk about high blood pressure, okay? Because this one is going to blow your minds in realizing that if you have high blood pressure right now, okay, or even slightly high blood pressure, you need to thank your body, because that is a normal process based on what you're doing to it. So think about it this way. Your heart is pumping blood into, let's say, well, everything, right? But let's just say it's going to a muscle, okay? So to be able to move and to function. So normally, you're going to have nice, healthy flow through that blood vessel, getting the blood to flow there perfectly, and it's going to receive all of its needs, all of its nutrition, everything that it needs. Now, in the case of inflammation, right, and then therefore causing that patching plaque to be laid down, it's going to narrow the artery. So your bicep there, your muscle, is still demanding the same amount of blood and the same amount of nutrition. And so when it's constricted, if the flow is diminished, there's only one natural response for the body to recognize and to do. And that's to do what? Everybody say it with me. To increase your blood pressure. If the pipe is clogged, all you can do is pump harder so that the water can get through. If the heart pipe, if you will, is clogged, the only natural response, because your body loves you, is to increase your blood pressure so it can still meet the needs and the demands of what your body is asking for. Go figure, huh? Now think about this. Think about now how devastating blood pressure lowering medications are for the body and why the side effects are out of control with that, especially long term. So now you have this situation going on. So your blood pressure is going up and up and up. And now you're like, oh, you have high blood pressure, your doctor says. So now we're going to lower it and lower it and lower it. Now your bicep or your liver or your kidneys or whatever organ is going to be is now getting less and less and less of a demand, right? And therefore, if it's not getting what it's supposed to, it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. That's what happens. That's why blood pressure medications are literally slamming, your body and saying, body, I hate you. You are not doing the right thing. And you're confusing the heck out of your body when you take blood pressure medications. It is a warning sign. It is a warning sign. Look at these side effects. ED in men, weakness, leg cramps, fatigue. It depletes your minerals, asthma, circulation, cold feet and hands, of course, right? Causes depression, foot pain, insomnia, dry hacking cough. Of course, a lot of these things, when these things show up, your doctor isn't educated enough. They don't know that it's your blood pressure medications doing that. And then now, next thing you know, you got new medications to cover up those side effects. Skin rash and loss of taste, constipation, dizziness, headaches, irregular heartbeats. Now your heart's literally not beating properly. Swollen ankles. Those are just some of the most common ones. Another major one, antihypertensive blood pressure medications linked to breast cancer. You can see in the study that when women took these blood pressure medications long term, which of course when people are put on blood pressure medications, they are put on them for the rest of their life, the risk of getting breast cancer doubled. save the tatas. So here are some natural ways. Just a quick little kind of protocol, if you will, that I threw together here to lower blood pressure. So a couple of easy things. If your doctor has you on a water pill, right? And if you're on that, you know what I'm talking about, okay? If you're on a water pill, it's because they're trying to keep fluid down in your body, which increases blood pressure. There's natural diuretics, okay? There's something that I use in my practice. In fact, I just recommended it, prescribed it for somebody today, called Water Ease. And it's got vitamin B6 and taurine in there. And you just take one of these a day. And for like a 2-month supply, it might even be 3-month supply, it's $13. So it's just a natural diuretic. It gets that excess fluid out of your body. So literally, if you're on a water pill prescribed by your MD, a pharmaceutical, you can swap it for this Water Ease or a natural diuretic supplement like that, and you're literally just wiped out one medication right there. Boom, easy. Another one that's really good is going to be something called L-arginine, which is an amino acid. And an amino acid, this amino acid relaxes the arteries by creating nitric oxide, okay? When you exercise, you create nitric oxide, which is why exercise lowers blood pressure, okay? Now, this does not mean that you don't have to exercise and just take L-arginine instead. Sorry for those of you that were hoping I would say that. But you can use this and supplement this in to make sure your body is producing an abundance of nitric oxide and keeping those arteries relaxed, right? Again, that's if they're tense and they're taut and you can relax them. And if there's still that scarring and inflammation in there, it can buy you some time to get rid of the inflammation. Another one I like is something called HTN complex, okay? And I am going to just pull this up here because I want you to see this. Complex here. So what's great about what's in here, so you can see vitamin B6. So again, it's got some of that natural, and it's got taurine in there. So this one actually contains the Water Ease component in there as well. It's got a good source of magnesium, zinc, pomegranate extract, which we've actually found. Pomegranate extract actually removes debris from your arteries. It actually releases that. It actually cleans it up, kind of like HDL does. Hawthorn extract is a natural, leaf here that helps to lower blood pressure. Lipoic acid, the reason why that's in there, that also relaxes the arteries, but lipoic acid is huge for increasing insulin sensitivity, okay? Which again goes back to the whole triglyceride HDL thing there. So all these ingredients here. So this is a great product for people that are looking to decrease their need for blood pressure medications and or transition off of that, okay? So you can see, so $36, so it's literally about $1 a day for that. I realize that insurance copay for a blood pressure medication may be lower, that may be higher than that, but you're looking at, zero side effects from this type of a system here, which is great. So if you're interested in that one, I don't carry that in my office all the time just because there's just, there's not necessarily a super high need for that, although the people on this webinar might have that. If you go to greenwayhealth.ehealthpro.com, okay, so greenwayhealth.ehealthpro.com, come here. Okay, so Greenway, like my clinic health at ehealthpro.com, click on shop. And then if you over here click on there's a cardiovascular section here. So if you click on heart and vessel health, you'll see there's some CoQ10, which is CoQ10. You got your HTN complex right here too. And you can just, buy that online, which is sometimes easier, because you don't have to pay tax in an office. And you get free shipping off that site as well, which is nice. There's CoQ10 here. Hold on one second. For protection for my heart, okay? It's the most important supplement and nutrient for your heart, big time. Got to make sure you're exercising. And also blood pressure is lowered through chiropractic adjustments. So This is the Journal of Human Hypertension, 2007, so about 10 years ago. They found, this was actually done by George Bacris, who is an MD. All right, and what happened was, the story is that George is a medical doctor in Illinois, and he had patients that kept coming in his community. It's kind of a small town in Illinois, that had been seeing this chiropractor he was noticing that all of their blood pressures were steadily going down. He didn't know it was chiropractic at the time, but he just started asking them, like, what are you doing? And they kept saying, well, I've been going to this doctor so-and-so here in town. And they're like, what kind of doctor? He's like, it was a chiropractor. So eventually what happened was he reached out to this chiropractor, asked him what he was doing, and the chiropractor told him, and he went through the physiology. So Bacris got a team of all these doctors here at Bush University in the Hypertension Center in Chicago. And he literally was trying to disprove, not from like a mean standpoint or like a antagonistic, but just like, he's like, kind of like, there's no way. And what happened was they found that on average, there was a 17-point drop in the systolic blood pressure, and an 11-point drop in the diastolic blood pressure, which when they compared that against their blood pressure medications, it dropped it faster and more effectively than the blood pressure medications. And of course, the chiropractic adjustments don't have any side effects other than other good things like better sleep, better energy, feeling better, right? Better health. So huge study, right? And it was in WebMD and all over the place. So we're talking about, so again, going back here, if you're on this, I recommend, have high blood pressure, I recommend HTN, especially if you have a wateries component or a water pill that you're on. CoQ10 for sure, all right? And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. So vitamin D and cardiovascular disease. So they found here in the curriculum of vascular pharmacology, they found that low levels of vitamin D, okay, has been associated with increased risk of cardiovascular disease, hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes mellitus, which is diabetes type 2, and other markers of subclinical atherosclerosis, okay? So super easy to test that, right? I know some of you saw my Facebook post from a few weeks ago when I tested my vitamin D, and I'm actually super glad that I tested, because my vitamin D levels were actually too high because I've been slamming vitamin D. So I am officially banned. I'm a vitamin D. I have to go to vitamin D anonymous and not take vitamin D for like the next year because of how high my levels are. So yeah, thank you Shane and Donna for posting the link there for me. So vitamin D, know your number. We want to see between 60 and 80, all right, for your number, and make sure you're supplementing and getting nutrients according to that number there. So look at this, low vitamin D. This is from Medscape, all right, which is the major medical news for medical doctors. Low vitamin D linked to more severe stroke, poor outcomes, okay? So vitamin D levels below 30 had twice as high of a chance of having a stroke, okay? So just major issues. Nobody wants a stroke. Low levels of vitamin D linked to high blood pressure, okay? Again, this just came out from Medscape or WebMD, all right, from that. So almost 150,000 people was done in this study here. And look at this. For every 10% increase in vitamin D levels, there was an 8% decrease in the risk of developing blood pressure. So love the vitamin D. Like I said, I am it because I know my numbers. This is the one I recommend for dosing, really for high doses. We have another one in our office in a maintenance, but this is for correcting imbalances. Again, doubled the risk of having a heart attack and stroke, and it plays a vital role in that. So again, you can get that on the website, or we have it in the office. So usually maintenance is around 4,000 to 5,000 per day. That's kind of what I recommend for the average adult to that. Quick little chiropractic study that I wanted to throw in here, which is really cool. HRV stands for heart rate variability. And in this study here, they found, because of the effect of chiropractic care on the autonomic nervous system, they found that after 1 year of chiropractic care, there was a significant, the ratio significantly changed, indicating an increased parasympathetic stimulation, which is associated with a slower heart rate and less anxiety and worry. In the study, author found that this is significant because a reduced heart rate can potentially reduce heart attack and other cardiovascular diseases by increasing cardiovascular reserve and nutrient supply to the cardiovascular muscles. This is why when we say in our clinic, and I don't just say this as a line or a marketing statement or anything other than the truth, is that chiropractic saves lives, pure and simple. When we say that we save lives in our community, that when you walk into our office, we are going to save your life. This is one example that every single time you lay on that table and get adjusted by either me or by your chiropractor, right? That it is literally increasing the life inside of your body and decreasing the risk of your death every single time you do that. Now, I know you don't feel that, but that's why there have been studies done showing the power of an adjustment on your body. Every single time you get adjusted, your heart beats that much better. How cool is that? I think that's amazing. CoQ10, all right, heavily linked because of inflammation to the aging process, all right, and literally your body breaking down. So CoQ10 is one of my new, I guess, if you will, favorite supplements. It's one I've been taking recently because as I was preparing for this webinar and doing research, I mean, I knew CoQ10 was important, but as I was preparing for this, I was just like, holy smokes, I got to be taking this stuff every single day. Because again, if heart disease is the number one cause of death, well, if I want to live to 120, well, then I got to have the number one cause of death very far in my rear view mirror, right? So it's essential for a health of all human tissues, but it's found in the greatest abundance in your heart muscle cells. And the reason why it's essential for the health of all human tissues is that it provides energy, for your cells, okay? So supplementation can reduce major adverse cardiovascular events. That's been shown in studies. And again, going back to earlier, statins will block production of this, which is going to increase your risk of death. And it's going to age you faster, all right? And it's going to cause your body to break down. So CoQ10, huge. If you have heart issues, I recommend there's actually a 100 milligram dose version of this one. This coconut, I recommend you do that. If you have heart issues as a preventative, you can do the 50 milligram dose as a much better. So 100 is more therapeutic, 50 is more preventative. All right, I just put this one on here because this is the one that I take right now. Now, vitamin C, everybody that knows me, that have been around for a little while, know that I have a love affair with vitamin C. And part of the reasons why is it is very helpful to your heart. So Dr. Linus Pauling, which was a PhD doctor, a chemist and a biochemist, he was one of only two people. This guy, we're talking uber nerd here, right? He was one of only, the only person to be awarded 2 unshared Nobel Prizes. So his discovery was so massive and so world altering that he didn't even share his Nobel Prize with anybody else. What he found was that there was a link between your collagen, inflammation, and the necessity of vitamin C in heart disease prevention and reversal or healing. So this prevents free radicals from damaging arterial walls, right, which goes back to the beginning and plaque formation. It keeps cholesterol in the bloodstream from oxidizing, and low levels of vitamin C in your body or low levels of collagen, of course, increase high blood pressure, cholesterol levels, and stroke. So I recommend for adults 2,000 to 4,000 milligrams per day. For kids, depending on how big they are, like if they're, let's say, 75 pounds, 80 pounds, you could do like 1,000 a day. if they're like a little kid, you could do 500, so like for the one that we recommend, that'd be like a quarter of a scoop, right? One scoop is 2,000. So you don't really have to be too anal, if you will, or specific about the vitamin C, because you can't technically overdo it. I mean, yes, you can, but not to a toxic effect. It is water soluble. So if you happen to take too much vitamin C yourself or give too much to your kid, all they're going to do is have to go to the bathroom, number two, and it might be a little bit diarrhea. And the body will just flush that out. So no harm, no foul with that. So like I was talking about, arteries, natural compounds that unclog your arteries. Pomegranate does it. Look, they found that they reversed within 1 year, it removed 29% of the blockage, which is insane. Okay. Now, pomegranate, especially the seeds, are good. Now, the only thing you're looking at, you're getting a little bit of a trade-off because you're getting some fruit sugar with that. So I think it's better to more take an extract if you have some clogged arteries going on, right? But they show pomegranate lowers blood pressure, helps you fight infections better, prevents that oxidation of cholesterol and inflammation. Arginine, which we talked about, all right, and the production of nitric oxide. Garlic. Oh, love me some garlic, okay? I get excited about garlic. So garlic, is one of the most important things for your heart, okay? It inhibits that arteriosclerotic plaquing formation, and it inhibits the progression of coronary artery calcification. So garlic, I think you should be intaking this either in real form, if you can get it in your food, right? Or supplement form every single day. It's also extremely antiviral. So in terms of fighting a cold or the flu, garlic will help you kill that. I know for any of you that have ever been around me for a while and you've been sick, you know that I've told you, go home tonight, and when you're right before you go to bed, peel off 2 cloves of garlic and do what with it? Slam it down, right? Now, there is the active component in garlic that does the majority of this is something called allicin. Okay. So, if you absolutely just can't handle eating raw garlic, all right, because raw is better than cooked, all right, it's much more potent. Cooked's okay, but it's not as potent. You have to do a lot more of it if you want to do that. You can take it in supplement form. Now, I will say with the supplement form, just from personal experience, because I take it a good bit. In fact, I'm going to take some tonight. You are going to smell a little bit, but not as much, okay, as if you did the real thing. I find actually you don't really smell a whole lot. It's more like you personally will have just sort of like a faint garlicky taste in your mouth. But it's very rarely, like, unless I take a ton of them, be able to be picked up from like my wife, okay? So B complex, huge here. Again, most people I know, if you've been around me for a while here, you know that I recommend this for anybody and everybody. It reduces the progression of plaque buildup, all right? But you also, it reduces the production of homocysteine, which is a major cause of heart disease too. And so it also helps with energy, and your body needs B vitamins just to make it go round and round and round. Another chiropractic study here. This was done the Journal of Geriatrics, the Journal of Geriatric Society. They found that having hyperkyphotic posture, okay? So hyperkyphotic posture means that, let me see here if I can get it lined up perfectly, means that your body is doing this too much, okay? So upright, and it looks kind of weird because I'm at an angle there, but it's when your body does this too much right here, okay? That's hyperkyphosis. By the way, I have a guest. This is Juno. She's been with me the whole time, being a good girl. So that's hyperkyphosis. I just wanted you to be able to visualize that, so you know what I'm talking about here. Right, on average. So they found that when people had that posture, all right, kyphosis, that it led to an increase death. Okay, let me find it here. Hold on. Oh, due to increased rate of death due to atherosclerosis. All right. So right here at the bottom. So they found that people that had damage in their spine like that, okay, so their spine's rotting and breaking down and shifting forward, having that kind of posture increased their risk of death due to atherosclerosis. So again, going back to why do you get adjusted? You get adjusted to prevent from dying from heart disease. So older men and women with that type of posture have higher mortality rates. You know, I say this all the time in my office, and yet sometimes the public just, and even patients that have been under care for a good bit and then just, you know, fall off or drop off, like somehow think that it's only about feeling good and back and neck pain. No, it's about living to your full potential and as long as possible. So here are the most specific that I'm aware of, best medically capable run blood tests out there. Okay, that was a mouthful. So these are tests that, with hopefully some persuasion, okay, or just, you know, a good doctor would be able to run for you to be able to test your heart and make sure you're not at risk for developing problems. So I personally run quite a few of these out of my clinic for patients through LabCorp and doing it, but here are the main ones. So top, I'd say 2 are going to be CRP, which is C-reactive protein, all right, and another one called BNP. And I sent out an article about a month ago on BNP, talking about if you have high levels of it, your risk of dying is just insanely high. Okay, so it's a pre-heart disease predictor. Okay, you know, knowing your triglycerides, which, you know, any doctor will have no problem running that number. It's important to know that because you can know how well your nutrition is or how well your body. So this is what's interesting for some people. Side note, you may think you're eating well, and you get your triglycerides tested, and you're at, let's say, 130. Well, unfortunately, based on that, you're not eating well enough, or it's not specific enough for what you need to be doing. Okay, now this, should be NMR. I know people are probably frantically writing some of these things here. There will be a replay that you'll get sent out in a link here afterwards, probably even later tonight. And so you'll be able to go back and like kind of scroll through and just pick where you want to go if you want to do that. So maybe just kind of remember that this is around the 1 hour, 11-minute mark. Okay. So you'll be able to go back and see that. So NMR cholesterol profile, that is a breakdown. So it's not only just testing your LDLs and HDLs, it's actually testing the breakdown of your HDLs and LDLs. So you can see how toxic or not essentially your cholesterol profile actually is. So honestly, if you just have a HDL and LDL number, it doesn't mean anything. And NMR can tell us some things though. Fibrinogen is another heart and cardiovascular measurement. Homocysteine is another big one. Now, uric acid is another one that can be done pretty easily. In fact, most doctors are going to do it in a metabolic profile. So seeing high levels of uric acid, is huge, because what that means is that your heart muscle is beginning to die. Okay. So, usually kind of think of uric acid as more as gout, all right? But if you're having elevated levels, it could be a sign that your heart is dying, which would mean you're at risk for an increased risk of heart attack or heart disease. Ferritin, that's an iron measurement. So knowing what that is and having that in the proper range, because iron transports oxygen through your blood. Gamma tocopherol is vitamin E. Vitamin E here is kind of linked with the BNP, right? So having low levels of vitamin D or not proper levels increases your BNP number. And then if you want to get super technical, remember we went back to that PLA2. Remember that's 90%, okay, of disease shows that in there. But if you really want to get technical and fun, you look at your apolipoprotein B and E and A1. There's also alpha lipoprotein or apolipoprotein little a and big A. Some of those are some genetic measurements and factors. those are more for the nerds or the biohackers, but I thought I'd put it on there just in case people wanted to know. Now, the most comprehensive cardiovascular test from a preventative standpoint, right? And remember, prevention always costs more on the front end. Chiropractic costs more on the front end, but it's cheaper than a surgery, right? This type of cardiovascular test costs more on the front end, but it's cheaper than your heart dying. It's called the cardio ion test. So I'm just going to pull this up here because I wanted to show this to you for people that are interested in this kind of. Diagnostics. And here's what it breaks down. So you see a little A lipoprotein there. So it shows you all these, which are pretty standard. It automatically calculates your ratios for you. It shows your chronic inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein, ferritin, fibrinogen, right? Are you in the normal range, too high, too low? It's going to test your insulin, testosterone, because if you go too high in testosterone, okay, you got increased risk of heart disease. And then sex hormone binding globulin, right? Oxidant stress, actually test your magnesium level too, which is pretty cool. Oxidant stress factors. Remember, oxidation causes heart disease, not cholesterol, oxidation of cholesterol. So you see homocysteine, CoQ10, the different types of vitamin E, lipid peroxides, right? Okay, so it calculates those things for you. And we can know, okay, well, look at this person is in the okay range of CoQ10, okay range of vitamin E. They're on the low end of good. I like to see more like up in the 80, 85th percentile. So yeah, supplementing some CoQ10 would be, smart for this person. And then you can see again, here's kind of the breakdown of that and showing you get a cardiovascular index rating based on all those factors tested there, which is pretty cool. So you can kind of have a score, if you will, for that. Now, it also looks at all of the amino acids in your body. So there's 20 of them that can be tested like this. So you can just see all of them. So we know based nutritionally, are you getting what you're supposed to? This is also just a general nutritional test, okay? For that, so it looks at all of those. So it's like, okay, you're not getting enough phenylalanine. Well, what foods are rich in phenylalanine? Well, let's increase that. Makes sense. Or maybe you're eating too much serine. Well, what foods are rich in serine? And you're like, well, it's eggs. And you're like, oh my God, I eat 17 eggs every single day. Okay, well, maybe you should not eat that many because it's pushing you out of there. And I'm not saying it's eggs, but you guys get the idea, okay? Then you can see, remember we talked about arginine and taurine. That's why they're on there. That's why they're factors and they're supplements for people with those issues. How great is the need for that? It looks at neurotransmitters here, okay? So, neurotransmitters listed serotonin, dopamine, stress, and anxiety. You got all kinds of other energy cycle factors here, more ratios, okay? You see it goes on and on. How your blood cells doing, right? Your plasma, do you have not enough copper? So your plasma is going to be weaker, right? Toxic elements, is there aluminum in there? Is there mercury in there? This person had high mercury, okay? Lead, right? So it tests that. It shows that the CoQ10, vitamin A, how your vitamin level is doing. Inflammation, right? So we can go on. There's even more. Oh, this is huge. So it gives you your fatty acid breakdown, all right? So everybody's heard of omega-3s and omega-6s, all right? I actually just recently tested myself for this to see where I'm at. So for example, this person are low in all of their omega-3s, okay? So with their omega-3s there, they would need to be supplementing or at least getting foods that are highly rich in these things here, okay? So gives you a breakdown of knowing what you need to be eating or not eating as far as nutrition, okay? Major breakdown with that. Nutrient markers, how well you break down fat, carbohydrates, how well is your energy production markers going. You see it goes on and on and on. Neurotransmitters, how well is your body detoxifying? Do you have leaky gut or not? And you see just all these readouts here. It just goes on. And then it gives you nice supplement recommendations based on that if you need it. So pretty cool stuff. All right. So I won't keep boring you on that there. Health. So regarding what you should be eating, this is funny to me because back in 1961, we're wrapping up here too, guys, by the way. So hang in there. Ancel Keys, he was the doctor that founded the lipid hypothesis. So that hypothesis that cholesterol was the culprit for heart disease. So if you want to know more on this subject and really read about this and kind of educate yourself, even beyond tonight, I just encourage you to Google cholesterol scam or cholesterol myth, and you can read all about it, or you can even watch some really good YouTube videos. I watched a bunch to prepare for this. So then in 1984, right, that's when statins started coming out. You got the bacon and eggs with the frowny face saying the war on fat and cholesterol goes global, right? And then a couple years ago, because they were way wrong, eat butter because it's healthy for you, okay? And it's just taking a while. So what do I eat? Simple enough, high fat, low carbohydrate, moderate protein. High fat, low carbohydrate, moderate protein. Maximize Living Advanced Plan is the best diet and nutrition plan on the market that reduces inflammation. It's chapter 4 in this book right here, okay? So make sure that if you don't have that, you can get a copy of it, or if you have it and you haven't read it in a while, refresh yourself on what you need to be eating, okay? And we'll be covering this at the seminar that's coming up here in a couple weeks. So as a reminder here to all of my people in the Raleigh, Durham area, Chapel Hill, all that goodness, on Monday this week, there is going to be a Friends and Family Day. So we are going to have 2 brand new smoothie flavors to try out. I know everybody likes trying new variations on smoothies, so we're going to have a couple new flavors for you to test out that are really easy to make. We're going to have coffee, we're going to have tea, we're going to have raffle, we're going to have, of course, adjustments, we're going to have vitamin and supplement sales. You'll have a chance to actually win a detox package worth over $1,000 for coming in that day. There's some couple things to be able to do that. You'll have a chance to register for the makeover again, which is on Saturday, March 25th from 9 to 11. And I know we're ramming this, if you're a patient in the office, we're kind of ramming this down your throat right now. And for very good reason, because it's going to save and transform your life and make it better. So it's a 2-hour seminar. Most of it is going to be brand new, even if you've been around for years in the office. Okay, I'm going to be teaching some amazing stuff, like how from one day to the next, I dropped, as you can see, 1.7% body fat and a total of 1.6 pounds of fat in one day. And my total body water actually went up, and so I lost half a pound from one day to the next. On the 12th, and I lost the little dang little piece of paper that measured this. I was at 9% body fat. So I went from 9% body fat on February 12th to the 23rd, dropping down to 4.8%. So I dropped 4.2% body fat, or almost 50% of my body fat in 11 days. If you'd like to learn how to do that and you're still not registered for the seminar, then my question is, what the heck are you thinking? Okay. So make sure you get registered for that seminar. I can post the link to that seminar in the comments too. And listen, this event, so let's say you're registered, awesome, thank you, you're going to love it. Now is the time over the next couple of weeks then is to focus on who could you bring, all right, to that event that potentially could save their life, or at the very least transform it. It doesn't mean that you're expecting change whatsoever, but we know that they are going to have a hard time making changes outside of a network and a community like ours. Okay, so I just posted that link for that event. The tickets are $15. per person, or $25 for a couple, or for a family. If you have 4 people in your family, it's only $25 for all of that. Okay, so please forward this link and this information to that. When you get this webinar replay in your email inbox in probably a couple hours, it'll be there in the morning when you wake up. Please forward this to the people that you love and care about with a little message, saying, I was thinking about you. This information might save and transform your life. Like, let's go ahead and pay this forward. That's it. I will stay on for 2 minutes. I know some of you can't type questions because there's some type of functional error with that, but I will stay on for a few minutes. Or you can message me through Facebook if you have a question you want to ask right now, and I will answer it. Other than that, everybody was great. Thank you for hanging in there with the technical difficulties in the beginning. Go ahead and fire away with questions in the chat bar if you have any. You're welcome. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Hair's getting a little messy. I got my little blue light blocker glasses on here so I can stare at the computer screen and not rot my brain. So that's what they are. I don't have vision problems. So you're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for being on. Awesome. Well, as always, and they're cool. Please feel free to email me if you have any questions that you think about later on, or as you're kind of mentally digesting some of this stuff and you're like, well, wait, what about this? What about that? You can go ahead and, email me and I will answer that. We'll do one more final shout out with my little trooper here, who is so patient, waiting for her dad to finish his little webinar and seminar for that. So she's so cute. Even when she pees and poops in the house, we still love her. Hey, Juno. Yeah, good girl. All right, everybody. Have a good night. Love you all. Bless you.